Hi Aries, welcome to your first part of January 2017 tarot reading. This is a general tarot reading. And before I begin, I just wanted to kind of clarify something that I've been saying in front of all my other videos for this type of reading, is that my readings, whether it be on YouTube or my private readings, are intended as ways of self-empowerment, not as telling people what to do, and using the cards as a substitute for your own intuition and your own, actions, really, because even if somebody gives you advice, you still have to take action on it. There are times when people will say, is this going to happen? Does this person feel this way about me? And I'm not a psychic. I am somebody who uses these divination tools. But even as divination, I'm not really interested in the future. I'm interested in my soul. The future, time to me is an illusion. So future, past, present are all one thing. And, depending upon where you're at in your spiritual journey, that will totally, either resonate with you, or it might confuse you, or it might make you mad to hear that. But that's how I roll. And so when I'm doing these cards, I never want to give the impression that you should listen to anything that I say or anything outside of what you deem valuable for your life. And anyone who tells you anything, it's also going to have to be that you take certain action steps to complement that information. So it's very important, I feel, to be an active participant in your own life, in your own journey. And so that's all I wanted to say about that, because it gets kind of a little bit sticky when we talk about future. I would rather you look at these readings as spiritual entertainment, but, not frivolous, to see if you see any kind of synchronicity, anything that is really happening in your own reality at this moment, and seeing if there are any possible practical suggestions that can help you help yourself. And that's the best way to put it. And I think a lot of Aries people are action oriented anyway. So it's really kind of preaching to the choir in that sense. But I did want to say too, sometimes the proper thing to do is to not act, if, for instance, if you're in a situation where someone is, maybe somebody else is kind of on the fence in terms of whether or not they want to commit to you, trying to get them to commit to you can be counterproductive. It may cause them to resist even more so. Now, that's one area that I think an Aries person tends to do. They tend to steamroll over people and situations to try to make things happen, impose your will on the universe. And sometimes you have to surrender and you have to allow things to work out in their natural time. So sometimes it is about not acting, and that is the choice. But some people are very fatalistic. They're very much like, I'm just a victim of life, and I hope she picks the right cards for me, because then I'll be okay. Otherwise, I'm screwed. And no, that's not what I want to convey. So anyway, on with the countdown, and we've got, that's the overall theme, is the Two of Cups. Some of these cards might not show up, and I'll have to, speaking of, surrender. Okay. So again, this is a general reading. Sometimes I see trends that indicate that it may be for more people a love reading than, a business reading. But I do try to include both possibilities. The overall theme is Two of Cups. In business, now the Two of Cups just in general, whenever you have a two, there can be duality and choice. So it can be, should I do this or should I do that? That's the choice. With the duality, I guess duality is seen as choice, but there could be two people involved. It's a partner card, but especially with the Two of Cups, because the cups are the emotions, and so they back up that sense of relationship. But in this particular sense, if this is a business context for some people, the Two of Cups can indicate either going back to a business relationship that you had previously parted, because this can be a reunion card, but it can be committing to something. So you may take on a business partner, and so you're kind of maybe you were working alone and you join forces with somebody else, and that could be just kind of indicating that in relationships it can be making that commitment to that person. So the Ace of Cups can be falling in love, and the Two of Cups can be, planning your future, like you're going to get married. It's a deeper commitment. It can also be a reuniting of two people. We do have a Mercury retrograde during the first 8 days of January, and sometimes that brings in people from the past, messages from the past. And you may have some kind of a sense of patching things up with somebody. Now, this person could also be of the element of water. Sometimes they're not literally like a sun sign in Cancer or Scorpio or Pisces. They can simply they may be another fire sign and they have a moon in Cancer or something like that. But in terms of the water signs in Aries, because Pisces is right next to you, that's always a possibility. But I would say Cancer, definitely. And this may be a person that you have committed to or have plans to commit to. We have in the past here the Emperor card. This could be connected to another Aries individual like yourself, but it could just be somebody who is of that mentality, which is, this is right, this is wrong, very rigid in their thinking, very authoritarian mentality. Sometimes they work in the fields such as law enforcement and military, because that tends to rule the mindset of people who are in those fields. And it can also, I think, sometimes relate to the legal system. So it could be like getting divorced and having the divorce finalized, and now onto this relationship with possibly a Cancer individual or a water sign. The way that you would maybe know if somebody is, watery in terms of their temperament is if they are, mainly a lot of times they will be more soft-spoken. They will be more, like withdrawn or introverted, I would say. Gentle, dreamy, not very, maybe sometimes even, especially with Pisces and Cancer, even a bit fearful or, timid is the word I was looking for. So that can give you a heads up on whether or not that's in your life. Now, it's funny because the Death card is connected to Scorpio. And I kind of didn't mention Scorpio, but, sometimes Aries and Scorpios get together, just like any other combination of signs. You're both ruled by Mars, but Scorpio is also ruled by Pluto. So Pluto is associated with power. Mars is associated with conflict and action and courage, okay? Together, it can be a very complicated relationship and maybe even contentious sometimes. But what I think could be happening is that could, for some of you, that is the person, but it's also talking of transition. So maybe you have finally, and that would kind of make me think that for some of you, you may have had a period where it was like you were getting over another relationship and you have made that transition. Like the death card is like saying that there are different phases in life, and maybe you've entered a new phase. You know, I keep speaking of these cardinal transits, the outer planets, Uranus and Aries in your sign. So the changes that occur, you may have felt like, oh gosh, I can't take another change, but they all have, it's like a soap opera where it's like, okay, another plot twist in my life, when is this going to end? On the other hand, even though it may be a plot twist, it may be kind of invigorating in a sense, because you get this feeling of, I may not know what's coming, but at least it's kind of jolting me out of this inertia. I don't think that a lot of Aries people have inertia. But once in a while I come across Aries people who, because of the, they might have like a lot of Pisces, which is a sign, very close to them. For instance, in their chart, they can tend to be a little bit less assertive and confident than the typical Aries. And so they tend to have that self-doubt seep into them, or that fatalism seep in, where they don't necessarily feel comfortable taking action very much because they, for whatever reason, they have that sense of learned helplessness. So it's important to kind of acknowledge that, not every Aries person may be as gutsy and active as their sign tends to portray them as. But even like in the business sense, there can be a feeling of something has ended. There's definitely like an irrevocable ending. And depending on what had happened prior to this, you may have felt like maybe you tried to go on your own and do something and you found that you worked better with somebody else. I had mentioned that, I think, in some other reading with Aries, that, talking about, maybe I was responding to someone, I was responding to somebody personally about Aries and Virgo and saying, Aries people are very good as catalysts, but sometimes it's really good for them to have these secretaries or these people that can kind of do the grunt work while you do the, inspiration and taking that inspired action. So that's kind of like your specialty. But you don't always like to kind of deal with the details. And so having that partner, it's almost like a silent partner, who's like, dealing with all the paperwork and all that stuff, that may suit you better. And you may feel like a sense of like, with the death card, there can be a sense that, whatever happened, if you were trying to make it work, you may have felt like a sense of failure, but it really wasn't, because it was just an experiment that you realize you do better with a different system. And so if you look at things that way, then it doesn't feel as negative. The higher message is the King of Swords. And I think that for some people it may be that, if you found, and this could definitely be something with Aries. People don't understand that the fire signs are very emotional. Just like we associate with the water signs. But for the fire signs, it's more of an impersonal type of outburst. Or it could be, if it is personal, it's based on our ego versus buying into the drama of something. So, I mean, it's hard to explain, but basically for an Aries person, Aries is a volatile sign. Because you're the first sign of the zodiac, you tend to be very spontaneous and impatient, and so it's hard for you to contain your emotions. You tend to kind of like put them all out there. And of course, a different moon sign like Taurus would modify that and make you more reactive in a slower way, okay? But in general, if we're going to generalize, I would say that. And it's not the same thing as like if a Cancer person gets sentimental. It's really not based on your own personal dramas. It's just based on your sense of right and wrong. If you get outraged over something, or if your ego is involved, because the fire signs are all about the ego, and the ego meaning it doesn't even have to be narcissism. It can just be the self, the separate self, the separate expression of their own souls, the individual soul expression. And that's why like the wands are associated with fire and creativity, because it's like your soul's expression versus the expression of the masses, and kind of like a thing. It's a personalized thing. When somebody's creative, they are expressing their own take on things, not anybody else's take. So with the King of Swords as the higher message, it could be saying that something has happened that has made you more mature emotionally, so that you're able to see things a lot more logically. With the King of Swords, that is a very logical, almost to the point where the person is cut off from their feelings. So that's the one thing that could kind of create a little bit of a challenge, is that the person may be a little bit too aloof. But, if there was something in your past, and it could have been that in a prior marriage relationship that you allowed yourself to become, maybe you had anger management issues, or just were, too aggressive with your partner, even in the workplace, same deal. And that worked against you, and you have learned not to be like that, to have more self-control. The King of Swords has a great deal of self-control, and he is able to see things at the highest level of logic. This could, again, relate to the legal system. It could be kind of saying, you didn't want to go there, but you had to. And so it's kind of like, since it's a spiritual message, it may be saying, don't feel guilty that you did this. This was something that you had to do. Maybe you didn't want to get divorced, but you had to, because it wasn't going to work out anyway. What crosses you is the Hangman, and I'm reading this as a reversed position. Now, in the reverse, I don't know if I should read in the reverse position, because the reverse position is really about, sometimes the reversed Hangman can be about, now it's time to act. Maybe it's like prolonging the inevitable. So for some of you, maybe you haven't gone the way of the lawyer, and you're just like in that initial stage, and you're still on the fence. And this is the thing that's the holdup, is that you're not sure if this is what you should do. The King of Swords suggests that you have the ability to see this clearly if you want to, and also that you should see a lawyer. That may not be appropriate for many of you, but another possibility is that the Hangman in reverse is not seeing things from a different point of view, wanting to see things from your own point of view, and that can kind of hamper any kind of efforts that you're trying to initiate. If you have a partnership on a job, and you're like kind of being heavy-handed about it and wanting things your own way, that's like what I'm talking about, being uncooperative and not willing to compromise with somebody that you are supposed to be partners. It's not supposed to be you telling other people what to do, telling another person what to do. And then that may hurt you in the future if you're not able to do that. Now the advice is the Seven of Pentacles. So this is something about patience that Aries really needs to kind of, embrace, because this is saying that you have something good going on here. And you may, have to tweak things. You're going to, I shouldn't say that it is good. It looks promising, but you have to keep assessing it. And so again, with any kind of new business venture, it's seeing, it would not be somebody who has been a veteran at it. It's somebody who is, you may have joined forces with somebody else and you're not sure if it's going to work out, but it's starting to pay off. That's why you have Pentacles. It just needs more time. The number 7 is about kind of that, it's a spiritual number, so it's more about reflection and also going within, seeking, using your intuition, but also in this case, because they are Pentacles, it's like seeing, the tangible results are there and will be there and will let you know whether or not it's worth pursuing, even in relationships. If there was somebody who is an earth sign that is not mentioned, like for instance, the Two of Cups, I did mention it could be a water sign, but it's very possible that there, that you have a Scorpio or other water. Well, that death card would definitely be associated with Scorpio. If not their sun sign, then something prominent that makes them scorpionic. But the other person might be an earth sign, and that's the person that is the sure bet. It would be someone who is a Taurus, a Virgo, or a Capricorn. And you may have certain things that you have in common, and you want to see if it's going to work out, and that's why you're in that stage. But let me see. Out of those 3 signs, which one would you be most likely? I think, well, Taurus, in certain ways, you're the first 2 signs of the zodiac. So you often tend to be very, Taurus and Aries tend to be sexually attracted to one another, and also very uncomplicated people, and that may appeal to both of you. Virgo, I have said it could be more of a business connection then, and so if this is a business reading for some of you, then it could be a Virgo person that is the key player. But Capricorn is a sign that forms a square with you, so sometimes you do end up, and I have had people write to me and say they're with Capricorn. Do not, if you're with a Capricorn individual, do not fall into that a habit of being the child and having them be the parent, because Capricorn is very responsible, and it's an earth sign, so it's going to be very grounded and what's the word, sensible. And it can be tempting for a sign like Aries, just like I was talking about in terms of business, of having this secretary, of kind of lapsing into this thing where you're like an overgrown child and they are the adult in the room who is telling you what to do. You are, being a Sagittarian, being a fellow fire sign, I get frustrated sometimes because we're very spontaneous and we're very adventurous, and sometimes other people get the wrong impression of us and think that we're immature or that we are irresponsible because we are spontaneous and things like that. And we're very enthusiastic about life. And so you don't want to kind of believe that attitude that another person may have towards you if you get involved in a relationship and they're kind of taking care of you and telling you what to do. It can be helpful on some level, but then it's not really an equal relationship. You may feel disrespected in some way. And so it's important to always kind of be very clear with a partner about, what your expectations are. The outcome is the Three of Cups. Now, this is a card of socializing. Sometimes this can be like a love triangle even. So, for people that are having a hard time choosing between two people, as evidenced in the center card, it may be saying, I was even thinking that some of you may have two water sign people that are connected to here, because I was thinking maybe one of them is a Scorpio and another is another water sign. But whatever's happening, the number 3 is also a lighthearted number. So it's not necessarily that, like for instance, the 3 of Swords is a very kind of bummer, heavy card. The 3 of Cups is like you maybe partying, make sure that you're not doing it too much, but kind of laying your hair down. This suggests to me that some of you are coming off of a long-term relationship that has broken up, in some cases with the legal system involved. And now you're just kind of playing the field, or you're just kind of like not getting too serious. And if that's the case, I think that is wise, because that way you don't have that sense of going from the frying pan to the fire, from one long-term relationship to another, and not having that downtime or that sense of freedom that fire signs love to have. In any kind of business venture, the 3 of Cups can indicate that you're going to be doing a lot of networking. And that may be in terms of wanting expansion in your business. If you have linked or joined forces with somebody, that other person may have suggested that, and they may have said, you do the schmoozing because you're the one who has this great personality, and you have a lot of energy, and you can sell ice to Eskimos. You're so good. And so anyway, Aries, I hope you enjoyed this. If you'd like a personal reading, please click on the link to my website below. Otherwise, have a wonderful new year and a great start to 2017. Bye.